Alright, welcome back to the Red Guy Show, your one and only place for something. We'll figure that out later. We're going to talk about Lost Meat again. But this time we're talking about cartoons. Really old and very specific cartoons. We're going to be talking about block shows. So first we're going to talk about a show called Oh Canada, which featured some animated shorts that were first part of the CBC Television's Canada Vignettes, which were basically, they're all Canadian animated, and they were featured on the show, but were made into a program on Cartoon Network. Featured a lot of various artists. A lot of them were really weird, not just because they were Canadian, but because they just had a very specific sense of humor. One of the animations featured like teleportation, but this woman, typical, said, well, let's see the teleportation while the door is open, and just realized he was just killing himself and cloning himself. Shit was weird. Next is Kablam, which is a Nickelodeon specific series of about 26 shows that weren't really enough to have their own show, but they were still, you know, enough to feature a block show. It had shows like Live with Loopy, which is some weird kind of puppet cutout show, stop animation. Action League Now, which featured not really stop motion action figures, but they still had action figures doing strange things, sort of like if the Justice League were cokeheads. Prometheus and Bob, which was basically this alien made friends with a fucking caveman. And then the Offbeats, which is basically just fucking lives rent free in my head from time to time, features just this fucking group of misfit kids who do fucking weird shit. It's worth a watch, in my opinion. Last but not least is a show that I watched kind of in the early days when hell started to get regularly cabled, shit like that, is a show called Toonhead, which is kind of a weird show, in my opinion. Not weird bad, weird interesting, because it featured a lot of retro cartoons, and then had some like really interesting trivia. Not trivia like, oh, who is Bugs Bunny arch nemesis? And those like, who in 1950s developed like cell shading or some shit like that. Like really unique and interesting trivia. And it also had some pretty cool like old cartoons from the 50s and 60s. They really showed that good retro shit. My favorites are always the ones of like the blank of tomorrow, like the house of tomorrow, the car. They're so cool. And just to think like, hey, this is how we thought the future was going to be is wild. All right, but as always, thank you so much for joining me for Lost Media. I am the Red Guy of the Red Guy Show, Maxim Davis, and I'll see you next time.